Israel Keyes is the name of a real serial coroner who appeared in modern times. The book about him uses one of the most infamous words in contemporary history, and many say he was the FBI's worst nightmare. Why don't people mind being compared to this guy and how bad he really is? Are people saying too much about this guy? No, guys, they're not exaggerating. In my opinion, this guy is a combination of the strengths of the notorious murder series in the past. Crazy, cruel, smart, calm, and cautious are all the strengths of this guy, and they are well balanced. He is worse than a serial killer. He is a bank robber, mugger, arsonist, rapist, and many other crimes. In 14 years, he has never been noticed by the police once. He was invisible to the police. After capturing Israel Keyes and learning, he did what investigators considered lucky. If the person is not careless, if he still follows his rules, finding and catching it is nearly impossible. So, who is Israel Keyes and what has he done? Part 2 reveals all. This demon's past, journey, psychology, and ending. This video would be good and very scary. Hello guys, I'm Agent M. Israel Keyes was born in Richmond, Utah in 1978, where he lived with his family. He also had 9 brothers and sisters from a total of 12 parents. To me, it was a strange family, a family living in the forest, where the father had a cabin for his wife and 10 children, living the life of a wild animal, away from appliances and modern technology. His parents chose this life because they were both Mormons. It is a recognized religion in some countries around the world. Israel Keyes grew up in isolation. With no birth certificate, no social security number, a crowded home, poor living conditions, 2 fanatical parents living in a Mormon church, the Israel Keyes also befriended their neighbor, Chavi Kehoe, with whom they lived. In the church, he was convicted of 3 murders in 1996. Israel Keyes grew up in this situation. He has the ability to survive in the forest like a wild animal since he was a child. He didn't go to school, his morals were fragile, and by the age of 10 he would sneak in and steal things. He liked to set fires and tortured and killed animals when he was 14 years old. He admitted that he sexually assaulted a girl in 1996 when he was 18. Israel Keyes first joined the military in 1998 when he was in his 20s. He adapted well to the military environment and has been described as an interpreter of all trades with high survival skills suitable for a variety of roles, and the mission, which can be said to be very clever, was the period of greatest psychological change in Israel Keyes' life. Of course, he prefers this life to wild animals. With your controversial beliefs? Left the army in 2001. He separated from his family and moved to Washington State, where he was free and began a new life. He decided to become a killer. Israel Keyes admitted to 4 murders in Washington State. The testimonies from 2001 to 2007 are very vague. So far, police have not found the body. In 2007, he moved to Alaska, then start doing more cases. He has now developed for himself a set of rules for killing and committing crimes that are so perfect that not a single investigator has a clue. I will analyze his actions later, but here are the cases and police estimates of the number of victims. Because Israel Keyes' main mode of movement was traveling throughout the United States, he kills people everywhere he goes, and the FBI has to reinvestigate every place he goes. From 1996 to 2012, many believe Keyes committed murders at these locations. Some of the victims were identified as Deborah Feldman, 49, who disappeared in 2009. In 2001, Bill and Lorraine Collier disappeared from a small town, and in 2012, Samantha Keone confessed to the deaths of 11 people. But investigators believe the actual number must be much higher. In addition to the murders, it was also determined that he robbed a bank in 2009 and set several fires. In the first film in 2012, we found out after Samantha Koenig was murdered, Israel Keyes traveled for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, he robbed a bank in Texas, robbed and burned down a house, and now he'd committed a charade without leaving a trace and no one finding out. He was eventually arrested in Texas for inadvertently allowing an ATM machine to photograph the white car. Here, we'll break down the crimes of Israel Keyes, and I'll take a look at why he's the FBI's worst villain. First, he established a front as a model citizen. Israel Keyes came to Alaska, a new land where no one knew who he was. He used his spare construction skills to start a construction company called Keyes Construction. He married a wife and had a child. He lives like a role model in society, working hard to support his wife and children and grow his company. He is fully integrated into human society. But as we already know, this is a stunning hoax, disguised as another blood demon. Israel Keyes is another blood demon. Israel Keyes is addicted to crime and murder. But he's not crazy. He's not crazy at all. His main concern was not to be discovered. He seemed to have a good understanding of how investigators and the FBI worked. He was always one step ahead of them, traveling and operating all over the United States. He would often rent a car and drive 100 miles to a remote area, find people and kill them.
Kind of go to a remote area that's not anywhere near where you live, but that other people go to as well.
It was like the couple was in a small town and he drove over, kidnapped them, and took them to a remote place. The husband was murdered, the wife was raped and murdered, the bodies were buried without a trace, and they were recorded as missing until Israel Keyes admitted that he had done it. Police usually investigate cases by region. Each region has its own team, so they often lack communication. He doesn't kill too many people in the same area, so the police can't think this is a serial killer. The most special thing about this man is that he prepared many crime kits, which he called murder kits, including guns, bullets, binding tape, shovels, bleach, cash, etc., placed in a bucket. He did a lot, hiding all over the United States. Wherever he went to kill people, he dug out the kit. Hide it back after use. He does this because he understands that the investigation team may find the criminal through evidence. Police monitor purchase bills, gun purchases, detergent purchases, or suspicious items purchased by criminals, and check supermarket security cameras for suspicious persons. So he goes ahead of the police and he buys it, and it goes everywhere. If you put it back after you use it, the police will have no chance. Regarding the victim, he did not kill for an object. Old, young, man, woman. He did not even know who that person was. Israel Keyes only needed to know the location. At that time, he would well done. This prevents the police from seeing the commonalities between the cases and making it impossible for them to believe that they were committed by the same person. He committed a variety of crimes, including theft, rape, murder, bank robbery, arson, extortion, and kidnapping. He was willing to do almost anything illegal. There had never been such a criminal, and the police never dreamed that this was all done by one man. In part 1, I said that Israel Keyes was the sum total of horrific views of past murderers. He had the same perfect social cover as Jack Bundy. No one seemed to suspect it, but Jack Bundy only killed one young woman, and his guilt was obvious. Leave a lot of evidence behind. Not so Keyes, who took action against everyone like Night Stalk. He's as carefully hidden as the Green River Killer, but his greatest success was keeping the police unaware of his presence. If this guy hadn't talked, the police might never have known that a serial killer existed in such secrecy.
Two different people, basically.
How long have you been two different people?
Long time. 14 years.
In part 1, we learn all about the case that led to the arrest of Israel Keyes. This case is so ridiculous. He betrayed the rules he had established for more than 10 years and took action near his home in Alaska, something he had said he would not do.
Remote area. Come go to a remote area that's not anywhere near where you live.
This time, he also demanded ransom and then went around to withdraw money, as if he was playing policeman. He had never been like this before, but this time because of the action in Alaska, he was confirmed to be an Alaskan. He accidentally let the ATM take a picture of a white car. The police caught a white car and saw the person from Alaska. Passport, too easy to get caught. I really have a hard time understanding this oversight and bias.
Why is that? Kidnapping where? I don't know where you're from. Straight to the left. Okay.
After several interviews with the police, the man seemed to be just a blackmail kidnapper, but he naturally said that he was a serial killer. Investigators were dumbfounded because they had been completely obsessed with this man for the past dozen years. Beyond that, in interviews, Israel Keyes always made fun of police officers and would tell the truth without telling the truth, making it difficult for even the most professional interrogators. He was interested in controlling the amount of information being said.
Everything was meticulously planned, and our interviews with him were the same from his standpoint. I mean, I never got the sense that he, accidentally told us something or got angry and riled up and then something flew out of his mouth. My sense was that he knew every time he came in kind of what he was going to give us that day.
Such people are a nightmare for investigators. He is believed to have a high IQ and antisocial personality disorder. He knew he would be discovered one day, but he was waiting for something even more shocking. He was waiting for something like a chase movie or a shootout. He wanted to be shot. He wasn't happy being caught so quickly. He hated going to jail and being tried multiple times.
Wanted the death penalty, and he wanted it quickly. He didn't want to sit in jail for a long period of time.
December 2nd, 2012 is a special day with many number twos. Israel Keyes was found dead in his cell, having committed suicide. When he died, he tried to act like a smart and dangerous man. He slit his wrist with a razor blade attached to a pencil. He also made a rope from the sheets. He lay on the ground, put his head into the rope, then pulled his left foot up and tied the other end of the rope around his left ankle. His purpose in doing this was that when he lost too much blood and became unconscious, his left leg would drop and tighten the noose around his neck, suffocating him and ensuring his death. However, the FBI insists that the letter contains no substantive information and that he is just talking nonsense. Israel Keyes is dead, and he brought all the information about the unfortunate victim. This guy is not like Jack Bundy or Night Stalk. He likes to show off his exploits. This is Israel Keyes, who prefers to annoy the police. He wanted to leave the confusion and pain to the police until the end. The ending was an unforgettable one for these investigators. This was probably the worst closing I've ever had. The only upside was that the guy had to stop, but because of that death, many lives will never be determined. Many families wait desperately every day for their missing relatives. Can you imagine feeling tired and helpless one day when my missing family members come back? Although I know in my heart that they may be dead, I still dare not give up the word hope. In cases like this, the reason why the police always try to find the body is that they hope that those who remain can live with the ending of overcoming the pain. I must say again that it is difficult to judge this murderer, his cruelty and psychology. I think you see it too clearly. This man, for his part, gave me a smoldering sense of fear. Does such an authentication name exist in our society? Because obviously catching him was a stroke of luck, and how dangerous something like this could be if the police were unlucky. Emotions aside, there are two issues that we need to take seriously, the first being faith and religion, which had a huge impact on Israel Keyes' psychological abnormality. He admitted that he was an admirer of Theodore Robert Bundy, an admiration that played a large part in his decision to become a murderer. Today, the murder took place on social media. Personally, I see a lot of admiration for murderers, criminals, and violence. It's worth mentioning that many of them are small, and it seems to me that most of them lack awareness and want to show off, want to attract attention, look dangerous, look different, thinking that such a statement is cool. I think everyone will agree with me is that pretending to kill idols is not cool at all and may even look stupid. But beyond that, very few people realize it, but they do have an interest in crime. My advice to these people is to take it seriously that this is wrong. This is not your deepest instinct or character. This is a distortion of thought and misunderstanding. Stop accepting negative information about murder or find someone with expertise to explain, help, and heal your soul. I hope everyone is peaceful and always useful to society. Thank you to everyone who watched the video. I hope this video is not too negative and helpful to anyone. Thank you very much for following me. I'm Agent M.